All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Network here. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me is Corey Pieper. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Another good week of football out there. We're watching the Chiefs and the Saints right now. Chiefs looking pretty good, but big play by Rashid Shaheed. I know we were chatting here before we started. Both of us have some things riding on that, not necessarily for the better, but it's a good game. I like it.
Yeah.
Yourself? How you been?
Oh, tired. Got a puppy at my feet who's been waking me up at 3 a.m. for the last week and a half, and I'm a little
It's like
exhausted.
another child.
It is. Totally is. At least with this one, I can just fall asleep on the couch and they fall asleep on the floor next to me. So, but it's still not great. But all right. Speaking of great, though, we will be covering some waiver wire additions here for week 6. You have the article out on Fantasy Six Pack right now, but we want to go through your top 6 right now. So let's get into it. We got Mr. Tyrone Tracy leading the way here. So big week from him, man. Devin Singletary out. Kind of a weird start. Like we saw a lot of Eric Gray, which was odd, but Tyrone Tracy ultimately came through in the end, man. Why do you like Tyrone Tracy?
I mean, you got the stats there, right? So you got he had ended up with 18 carries, 129 yards. You have it right there. 7 yards a carry. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's
one catch for 1 yard only. And he can do more of that. So for those of you who don't know Tyrone Tracy's backstory, his collegiate career started at Iowa, where they don't throw the ball, but he played wide receiver there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they transferred him to Purdue, or he transferred to Purdue, and that's where they tried him at running back, and he led the country in yards per carry. He might have been behind Jaylen Wright, who we'll get to in a little bit here, but he was either first or second in yards per carry last year. And so he has the pass catching ability. They just didn't ask him to do it yesterday. I'm hoping we'll see some more of that. You mentioned Eric Gray. He operated as a receiving back. He also had an awful fumble at the 1 yard line that was returned for a touchdown. And then they basically stopped using him at running. So that was good. Singletary's injury is a groin. Could he be back this week? I suppose, but it could also linger pretty easily. That's a tough injury. And I went back and did some research for this. He's had one game in his career with over 129 rushing yards. 6-year career. Tyrone Tracy had that in his first start. Does it necessarily mean that it's Tyrone Tracy's job going forward? No, but the arrow's pointing way up right now for Tyrone Tracy. You have to add him. He's going to keep, even if Devin Singletary comes back, I think he showed enough in his one game that he's going to definitely take a portion of this workload, and I think it's just going to keep increasing as the season goes on.
Yeah, I do not disagree. So moving on here to the next one, got Josh Downs, a repeat from last week. Y'all didn't listen.
I wanted to put the "Are you not entertained?" gif into the article. I was like, what else does he need to do? The first, I think this is the first back-to-back one, but tied a career high in targets, 12 targets yesterday, set a new career high in receptions with 9. Now it's only 69 yards. Sure, we want some more downfield targets, but you're talking about waiver wire options here who you can play. You can play that every week in a PPR league. Now, 44 attempts under Joe Flacco, right? And I talked about it last week. Joe Flacco the week before had 26 in just 3 quarters. We've never seen that type of volume from Anthony Richardson.
We're not going
I think Anthony Richardson plays this week. If Joe Flacco starts, or when Joe Flacco starts for the Colts, Josh Downs is just a start. There's really not any questions. He's a top 30 receiver. When Anthony Richardson plays, it's more of a flex option. He's still going to be usable, but the ceiling is much higher when Joe Flacco's out there. But he should be on a roster at this point. There's no reason that I guarantee you, most teams have a worse receiver on their team than Josh Downs.
Yeah, probably. most definitely. So, all right, next one up here, Mr. Darnell Mooney. Atlanta Falcons kind of lighting it up last week. Kirk Cousins, 509 yards passing. So Darnell Mooney getting in the action there for sure. But this is his last 2 weeks on the board here. What do we like about Mooney going forward?
Yeah, the 509 yards, 58 passing attempts for Kirk Cousins. Now, that game goes into overtime, and his final stat line for just last week was 16 targets. He caught 9 of them, 105 yards, 2 TDs. He had an awful drop late in the game, which almost cost them the game. But he's had at least 6 targets the past 4 weeks. Now, has it been consistent? Not actually too bad. So in PPR, if you just break it down, the last month, he had 17 points in week 2, 14 in week 3, 8 in week 4. It's a little low, but then 31 in week 5. That's not too bad. At the year now, he's at 40 targets. That's tied for 15th in the league. That's the same as Chris Godwin, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And I went using Yahoo. He's the only player in the top 25 in targets who's available in over 50% of leagues. And he really shouldn't be. If you're getting that type of volume, you should not be on a waiver wire. And here's the good part. Then you look at Atlanta's upcoming schedule. So after a slow start, Atlanta's gotten rolling in the last couple of weeks. You've got the 2 games there. That was against New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Listen to this schedule coming up here. At Carolina, that is the team that Caleb Williams just torched. Versus Seattle, that's the team that Daniel Jones just torched. At Tampa Bay, again, versus Dallas, not great. And then at New Orleans. So for the next 5 weeks, you could easily see Darnell Mooney being usable in fantasy. Go get him.
Yeah. I've been holding on to him. I'm going to lose a couple of leagues this week because I have Mooney and sat him on bench. I mean, he's been okay. You don't expect 31 points from him.
You don't expect 31. But I think you can expect some volume, like 12 to 15. I think that's pretty bankable right now. Kirk Cousins is getting more comfortable in this Atlanta offense. I feel, and he's looking to Mooney. He's still behind Drake London, but it isn't that far behind anymore.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. Definitely. All right. Next up, Tank Bigsby.
He's been on this list before.
Not what ETN managers like to hear, but this is the real deal.
Yeah, he is. He was on the week 2 waiver wire, so we've missed a couple weeks here, but 3 out of the 4 weeks, Tank Bigsby's been better than Travis Etienne. There's really not a whole lot around it. Week 1, he was better than Travis Etienne. Week 2, he got hurt. Week 3, Tank Bigsby hardly played. And then week 4 and 5, he was better again. So of the weeks he's been healthy, he's looked better. He's performed better. Yeah, if you have Travis Etienne, you should be worried, unfortunately. But this is what we heard all offseason, that they wanted to lessen Etienne's workload. I didn't think it would happen because Tank Bigsby didn't look particularly good as a rookie. So I just expected them to say, okay, we're going to lessen his workload, but we're not going to be able to get him off the field because Bigsby didn't look good. He looks pretty good right now. Some of those, if you didn't see that 61-yard rush yesterday, go like check it on X or Google it. He looked like mini Marshawn Lynch breaking tackles in there. And considering that this week he overtook him in snaps and carries, and the Jaguars got their first win, I don't think it's going to change. He's looked better. He's getting more work. Now, Etienne's going to be in on passing downs. I think it's kind of like a Pittsburgh Steelers situation from last year where we're probably looking at, if you're in a PPR league and you can count on the volume, I think we're looking at 2 top 30 backs where Tank Bigsby is probably going to get the early down works and the goal line, and Travis Etienne's going to get the passing targets. I think I want Bigsby more at this point.
Yeah, I'm drafting up my usage article right now, and it's hopefully coming out early Tuesday. I wrote about this and how we're just seeing this trend where Bigsby is taking over the rushing attempts, just like you're saying. And yeah, it's looking like Bigsby's the early down back, the guy who's going to get the majority of the carries, and then Etienne is eating up all that passing volume. But he's getting enough of it, right, where he is still useful. I mean,
like Jaylen Warren last year.
He saw 6 targets and caught 6. Like, that's receiver usage. He's just got to bust one, hopefully he can get in the end zone. That's where it's tough as like a pass catching back. You don't usually get those like downfield targets. So the touchdowns don't come as frequent as like your receivers would in the same role. But moving on here, next up, Ty Chandler. Be honest, I didn't have a whole lot to throw here on the slide because the production is not awesome, but opportunity now knocking on the door. So this is really all we got, right?
And that's what it comes down to. It's an opportunity thing here. So Aaron Jones, for the second time this season, left the game with a hip injury. Early indications that I've seen are they don't think it's overly serious. Okay, I heard that also when Christian McCaffrey got hurt, right? So it's not overly serious. Guess what? It was pretty serious. Still waiting. So you have to take the chance. Did Ty Chandler step into the vacated spot and look good? You got the stats there, man. You can see it. 14 carries for 30 yards isn't what we're looking for. But 14 carries, I'm kind of excited about that. If you're going to get 14 carries, you just got to be better, right? And he caught 2 passes. CJ Ham came in and got the goal line carry too. That was also disappointing. But the Vikings have a bye this week. you got to monitor Aaron Jones' hip progress. So if we hear
Mhm.
that he's out for a month, you got to take Ty Chandler. You cannot find guaranteed starting running backs on the waiver wire, and that's what's going to happen here. And he has gotten touches even when Aaron Jones has been in there. This is 3 games out of 5, I believe, where he's had over 10 touches. He's a clear handcuff, and there's an upside for more. If Aaron Jones is out, probably bump him up a little bit in the waiver wire priority here, because starting running back for the team that's undefeated, that could be a lot of volume.
Yeah, and I mean, you also got to remember, like, there's going to be better matchups. They're not going to be playing in London. Like, it's just
Those games are always tough.
better days ahead for Ty Chandler. Like, he's performed better in games where he wasn't getting starting workload. It's just that was a train wreck of a game for some reason, all over the place, except for Garrett Wilson. So there we go.
Targets.
All right, last on the list here, Mr. Jaylen Wright. This is his week 5 box score on the screen here. Looking pretty good for a Miami team that's struggling mightily on the offensive side of the ball.
That might be coming back too, though. Tua Tagovailoa, they're on a bye this week too.
Yeah.
We'll see, maybe. But so why is Jaylen Wright find himself getting that type of volume? Well, in my article, I said it's kind of like a hybrid. This is a hybrid recommendation of Tyrone Tracy and Ty Chandler. Just like Tyrone Tracy, Jaylen Wright is an extremely talented rookie who just needs an opportunity. And like the injury to Aaron Jones leaves to Ty Chandler, Devon Achane got concussed early in the game, in the first quarter, I believe it was, and Jaylen Wright stepped in. Now, could Devon Achane come back right after the bye? Sure. If there's a team that's going to be extremely cautious with concussions, it's the Miami Dolphins. They've seen what it can do to one of their young stars, so I don't think they're going to push Devon Achane. Now, he could be back. Raheem Mostert did come back yesterday for the first time since week 1. He had his usual workload, 19 carries, 80 yards, 2 catches for 8. But Jaylen Wright just is so similar to Achane that whenever he touches the ball, there is a chance this guy can score from anywhere. He had carries of 12, 16, and 17 yards in that game. And he had another 33-yard carry brought back on a holding call. So he could have easily had another 120-yard game, basically, like almost identical to what we got out of Tyrone Tracy. I would like to see him get more targets and get the ball in space, because that's kind of what we've seen out of Achane. You get the ball in space to him and he can make plays.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Dolphins are on a bye next week. Could it come back and become a 3-headed monster where they're all capped, Mostert, Achane, and Wright? Yeah, and that would really suck for fantasy. If you have to take a chance on Wright, that if Achane's hurt, we've already seen, even with Snoop Huntley playing quarterback here, the Dolphins running game is good enough that you can still start these guys.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and you also kind of wonder, like, maybe they're going to use, like, maybe they start sliding Wright in over Mostert a little more if they start getting a little more of a spark in that offense with a Jaylen Wright in there. I mean, Mostert's still good, still talented, you can tell, but there does seem to be a slight drop off from last year with Mostert already in the early part of the season here. So, all right, man. Well, that is it for the show. I want to thank you for doing this and writing the article again this week. While everybody's here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave those comments. Check us out over on Fantasy Six Pack. Become an All Access member where you get access to Corey's full waiver article, not just the top 6. He goes 20 plus players deep every single week. It is phenomenal. And then we got many, many more things there as well. So go ahead and check that out. Use promo code F6P NFL24 to save 15%. And Corey, let everybody know where they can find you, and then we'll call it a night.
You can find me on the Twitter at COPIEPS. Yeah, I do the Fantasy Six Pack Waiver Wire, do the show with you, do some other stuff on there. Check it out.
All right, sounds good. And good luck, everybody, in your waiver wire bidding this week. See ya.
Peace.